Welcome back to the Jewish-Anglican. How you doing? Today we will be talking about American political parties, specifically the political party I made once a few years ago. So it's a little out of date with my beliefs to some degree, but I think it's important to look back at what I've done in the past, and plus I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts about it. So without further ado, let's get into the new Roosevelt Party. This one is definitely a strange party, I will admit. The new Roosevelt Party I made was actually originally from my book. But I thought it'd be really cool if I actually start to world build it a bit more and what its policies are. Also, I'd love to hear where you guys think this party would do best. But before we really dive into further with the new Roosevelt Party, I have a bit of advice for all third parties in America. Stop aiming for the presidency. Start aiming for local state Congress. I do think state Congress is the best way third parties can get their footing into America. Imagine if if each state was consisting of its own political parties, kind of like how Europe is. How in the EU Parliament, you have political parties, then you have political groupings, which is a group of different regional political parties. I think that could actually kind of work in America. It'd be weird, but it could really do well. And I think for some states that would be beneficial. Start at state, then federal Congress, then presidency. That's how I say the best way to introduce third parties into America. But without further ado, let's get into the political party I wrote for my book once. New Roosevelt Party. New Roosevelt Party. It is a very... So first of all, I won't be reading all of this. First, the new Roosevelt Party is a very much a conservative, constitutional-based party that very much wants to have the freedom of speech and freedom of right of arms. Well, so it is very much a conservative party, of course. Now, it is different from the Republican Party, and that is something I've noticed with more right-leaning parties of differentiating themselves from the GOP. And here's how I immediately start this, and it is by believing in environmental conservatism. Environmental conservatism, from a Christian point, is pretty important because it is our domain given to us by God. So, of course, we should have control and respect for it and use it within its proper context and shouldn't abuse it. Now, of course, we shouldn't start worshiping it like how a lot of the Green Party and Democratic members kind of do, but there is a fine line, and maybe environmentalism isn't the best phrase, but more conservationism. I don't know. However, I have it written right here. Why do they mention? Why do so many environmentalists across America and Europe think defacing famous artworks is a good protest for the environment? I never get that. Oh, I do love this. What is conservatism if not conserving your nation, your history, your language, your people, and even your surroundings? I think that's a good argument for environmentalism. I also written we also want to reform national parks. It's like, what does that even mean? Reform them. Like, I like the idea of national parks, but I do think they need a little gusto, a little oomph. If you have any ideas, I'd love to hear it. We believe in stopping lobbyists from corrupting our government. Doesn't matter if it's from business or union, it's as bad, and it must be stopped. Okay, this is interesting because this very much goes back to corporatism, stopping both the unions and the businesses, trying to create a balance between the two. This is a very corporatist mindset. This is not a corporatist party, but it is a corporatist-inspired party. I think I made this before I discovered corporatism. I could be wrong. But as you can tell, it has very much lingering on it. And plus, Theodore Roosevelt himself was kind of a corporatist with the whole corporatism is, with the whole, like, trying to be a moderator between the businesses and workers, all that. So, kind of makes sense to the new Roosevelt Party. And it is after TR. You see, look at this. Look at the moose. The bull moose. It's a Teddy party. Right. Yes, so the progressive era did unfortunately start the federal income tax, which the federal income tax wouldn't be as bad if it wasn't for if it actually did something. Like if it actually benefited our infrastructure, which I will be getting to soon, if it benefited our nation. But it doesn't benefit our nation. None of our taxes are actually doing the right thing, so why should we pay for the federal income tax? So, are you the federal income tax? So, what do we do about alternative energy? And this was written and this was made quite a bit before Trump's recent bill. I think he made a bill recently. He signed into a bill making it law about about actually starting more nuclear energy infrastructure. So, nice try, Donnie, stealing from my ideas again. I am convinced my phone hears me. I swear, my phone can hear me because every time I come up with an idea, Trump somehow steals it. Like America joining the Commonwealth, and he says it's a good idea. I thought of it first. Yeah, Donnie steals my ideas. Anyway, so yes, definitely nuclear power plants, especially in the West, are much safer than anything that than the Eastern Europe Soviet Union was doing. Just want to clarify that. So yeah, nuclear energy, best energy. Arthur Greenwood has made a lot of videos about it. It's a good energy source. I'm not opposed to necessarily using wind or solar, but like windmills kill birds, and solar panels are really bad for the Pacific Northwest and Alaska, or pretty any place that doesn't get enough sun. But I do think in maybe some capacities you can use them, but they shouldn't be our primary. I still think nuclear energy would be the best primary. If you want a renewable energy source, nuclear energy is the best way to go. Now, what about term limits? Now, there's been a lot of debates about term limits, age limits, all this. Now, there's the idea of cognitive testing for each representative and all this. Here's what I say. I think some states can be debated. Like, I don't think Wyoming needs state term limits on their state house because it's a small population. I think for some of the bigger states, like Texas or California, there should be state term limits on the house. But federally speaking, there should be term limits on the House. And the reason I'm pointing out the House and not the Senate is because the Senate is supposed to be prestigious. I think I write it down somewhere, right, about how the state is supposed to be the elitist house. So if we have term limits on the House, that will create more competition towards the Senate. And I think competition could be good. So ultimately, term limits on the House, no term limits on the Senate, federally speaking. I think statewide, we can all debate and argue about that. That should be for state to argue. All right, I love this. A massive issue that the left wing and right wing Gen Z agree on is that the American infrastructure system is abysmal. It does have a lot of problems, I will admit that. But how do we as Americans fix this? Since this generation is having a harder time affording cars. And not everyone can afford to fly. So, of course, we have bullet trains like Japan, France, and Italy have. I do think bullet trains are what America and even the Anglosphere are sorely lacking. We need something for long-distance traveling, and trains are the best accommodity. I live in Western Washington. In Western Washington to like Moses Lake in Washington are like 6 hours, like 4 to 6 hours. If we had a bullet train, which the average speed is like, what is the average speed of a bullet train? I remember looking this up at one point. It would be pretty quick. It'd be like 50 minutes on a bullet train to get from Western Washington to Moses Lake. Correct me if I'm wrong. I just researched this because I remembered it, but then like I swore I looked it up before. I can't complicate. Correct me if I'm wrong. Edit me. Correct me. All that. Anyways. So yeah, bullet trains are pretty great. I do think America, especially a country of this size, does need one. At least almost every western state. Every state on the West Coast definitely needs it. And even further inland west. We need it. It'd just be sufficient. Also, we do it'd be in every major city. It would be great. Also, we need more cities designed not car-based. Just saying. Oh, and then I'm shouting out, you missed Monsieur Z! Or Dean Mosley. Dean Mosley? That's his name? Dean Mosley? About Utahism. Now, Utahism is a bit of a complicated one. I don't think you can redraw every single state based on culture, politics, geography, and here's why. Some states would not be enjoyed being split up like Texas. Just the pride from a Texan would make you would is too much to risk to be pissed off. So ultimately, I think some forms of Utahism are good for America, like splitting Eastern Oregon from Western Oregon, or making some states split off from one. There are some needs for Utahism, but I do think Monsieur Z goes a little far. But he does have the right idea. Also, I have it here talking about we should start city and state first, not third party for third parties and all that. Now, of course, I also briefly mentioned about where and how to launch this party. Where's the best place? I thought maybe in some parts of New England, in some of the New England states like Massachusetts, Connecticut, etc. Because even the conservative ones aren't super, even the conservative cities aren't super conservative. So maybe we could launch it there. I also think maybe Nebraska, since Nebraska, especially in Lincoln, Omaha area, is very politically mixed, and this could be a good balance. I even thought maybe Utah, since Utah is real strange with their politics. I'd love to hear where you guys think my political party would be. Perfect place to set up. Overall, I really hope you guys enjoyed this one. I know I enjoyed it. So hopefully this gives you ideas on what to do with American third parties, and hopefully you enjoyed it. I think if I had to redo my new Roosevelt Party and make it a little more corporatist, maybe not fully, I'd love to hear what other ideas you have for this. It was very broad, but I didn't even edit this. I found it and I thought, you know what, let's see what past me had to make, and honestly, it's pretty good. Overall, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and comment below what third parties you think America needs. And of course, God bless.